Shabbat Shalom, everyone. In the darkest period of Jewish history that some of us remember, there were people who were still able to maintain hope. They could envision a better world. There were people interned in the camps who, even though they were starving too, found someone who needed their crust of bread more than they did. There were people who continued to compose music or write novels. There were people who continued to think about loved ones and hope that they were alive, even if they didn't know the answer. There was a psychiatrist who was interned in the camps, whose name was Viktor Frankl. He started noticing this phenomenon of hope and faith. And after he was released from the camps, he continued his work as a psychiatrist. And he talked about people needing more than bread and water to sustain them in difficult times. He talked about remarkable people who, even in a world of darkness, insisted that they create, in some small way, a universe of light. This week we meet the character of Korach. He too wants a different world. He too has a vision of how he wants things to be. Now, Zachary did a great job of talking about Korach's punishment seeming a little harsh. Korach comes forward and he says, "Hey, Moses and Aaron, you're not the only people capable of leading. I'd like to lead too. We're all holy," he says. But since you covered that part so well, Zachary, I'm going to look at a different aspect of the text, which is Korach's children. There's this strange part in our parsha this week. It says Korach and his family were swallowed up by the earth. And you're right, I think that's a harsh punishment for the crime. But in 10 chapters we read, "And the sons of Korach survived." Who were these sons? What did they go on to do after surviving? I mean, think about what their situation was. Perhaps it was a situation of humiliation, right? That their father of the priestly clan would do this, but they went on. Perhaps it was a situation that was terrifying to stand amongst people being swallowed up by the earth and not be swallowed up yourself. Perhaps it was a situation that caused a lot of grief and loss to lose all of your family in an instant. So what happened to Korach's children? Well, the book of Chronicles tells us. They were not defrocked, so to say, right? They stayed in the Levite family. They didn't choose to leave that service. The book of Chronicles lists the descendants of Korach as the doorkeepers of the tabernacle and the custodians of the pans that made the showbread. They continued to create a world where they guarded sacred light despite their family having this trauma in its background. In fact, the prophet Samuel, the kingmaker, the one who anointed Saul and David, is a direct descendant of Korach. And one of the sacred duties of this Levite family, Korach's family, was to sing songs, specifically the Psalms that David wrote, in the tabernacle. But Korach's family took it one step further. There are 150 Psalms that are traditionally understood to be composed by King David. But if you look through the book of Psalms, 20 of them start by saying, "A song of the sons of Korach." They went on to be composers of sacred music. Their ancestor, their father Korach, had so much. He had a prestigious position in the community. He clearly had more than one child, a rich family, but he wasn't satisfied with what he had. And his children, on the other hand, who witnessed terrible things, they found beauty. Not only did they find beauty, they made the world beautiful. I looked at the Psalter, and the first psalm that appears that says this song was written by the children of Korach is Psalm 42. If you read it as an autobiographical psalm, it's astonishing. It says at the end of that psalm, "Why do you despair, my soul, for God is with you?" Imagine being able to write those words after your family had survived such an ordeal. And Psalm 46 even more hauntingly says, though the earth collapse on itself, you are with me. If you think about the people writing these Psalms, those words seem even more extraordinary, at least to me. Now, to be clear, my response to things that have frightened or upset or been tragic in my life is not quite as noble as Korach. I think it's a normal human reaction to show rage or fear or depression or anxiety after something traumatic has happened. But I have met people like the children of Korach who have insisted when the world becomes dark that they go into a life of service and song, that they guard sacred fires, that they make sacred music. And those people are very inspirational to me. When I looked closer at Psalm 42, Rashi, a medieval French commentator, had an even more interesting commentary on it. He said this psalm about why do you despair, O my soul, God is with me, was actually written in the moment after the earthquake. And he describes the scene, which is the earth fell away and these children of Korach were left standing on an island in the middle of a chasm. And it was right then and there that they composed this psalm. Rashi also says something interesting about Korach's complaint. Remember, Korach too wanted the world to be different than it was. Korach points out, everyone's holy, not just you, Moses and Aaron. And Rashi says Korach is referring to the past. He's referring to that moment at Sinai when through collective merit we all heard God's voice thundering through the wilderness, instructing us in Torah. But the seer of Lublin, who is a later commentator, a mystic, a Hasidic master from 19th century Europe, sees it differently. He says, what does it mean that we are all holy? That's actually about the future, the time of the redemption, not the small redemption from Egypt, the redemption when the Messiah comes. And the thing is, we all have to make that happen. It won't happen without us. We all need the inspiration of the sons of Korach to look at a world that sometimes feels dark and say, how am I going to bring some light into it despite the darkness? What is my psalm to sing for the Lord? Korach looked to the past. His children looked to build the future. I started right before the Torah reading by saying, how many portions are named for a person? The answer, by the way, is 5. But none of them are named for people like Abraham or Moses, right? They're named for people like Korach. But I actually think in this case, in our portion's case, it's not named for Korach himself. It's named for Korach's children, who went on to make the world the one they wanted it to be, even though they'd had a very difficult experience themselves. And so my hope is that we can all take a little bit of inspiration from these children of Korach and fill the world with a little bit of light and song. Amen.